You chose to be here, right? You choose to be trapped by believing that you're trapped, right? Like, you can only you can only be trapped if you believe that you're trapped, right? These are common things that people in the New Age will say when you bring up the soul trap, when you bring up the reincarnation trap. They'll say they'll essentially gaslight you into saying that, oh, you chose to be here, you chose to be here for the experience, you chose to be here to learn lessons, right? This is a common thing that like all of the New Agers do as sort of like I think it's like a defense tactic for the you know, and like whenever you bring up the soul trap, whenever you bring up like the memory wipe with reincarnation, whenever you bring up all of the near death experiences where people are forced back down here, people report being stuffed into their bodies in some of the near death experiences, right? These New Agers, what they'll do is that there's this gaslighting essentially, or it's gaslighting. And it's also like you know getting you to not trust your own sort of your own sense of self. Like basically, they're trying to get you to not trust yourself. What they're doing is they're telling you something about yourself that's very obviously not true. Oh, you chose to be here. You wanted to be here in order to learn. Like they're saying all that, even though it's very obviously not true, right? And this is because of a comment that I saw, and like here's the comment, right? So this is like on a video just randomly that I saw. Like, no one is trapped here. We are here because we choose to be here for the experience. It's an illusion and a choice to think you are trapped. You can choose what kind of experience you have with choices you choose to believe, right? That is the comment that I saw that sort of compelled me to make this video, right? And the thing about this is that it's very obviously not true, right? I mean, like, who chooses to come down here to And I'm thinking of like the most extreme example, right? Is like, the kids being diddled in the private islands right now, right? Like, think about like the organ harvesting that goes on right now. Like that's a real industry, that's a real trade, human trafficking, right? Oh, you chose to come down here to have the experience. Like, who chooses that? No one chooses that. That's fucking dumb. That's dumb, and yet again, it's a gaslighting tactic. Tactic. What they're doing is they're essentially getting you to not trust yourself. They're telling you things about yourself that are not true, and they're saying that, oh, you wanted to come here. They're pointing the finger at you, and this is like a technique of mind control that they also do is they tell you stuff about yourself as if it's a true thing, right? Oh, you want to do this, you want to do that, and it's very much like how they use language, right? You chose to be here, you this, you that, and what it is also is it's not only gaslighting, and I think that I say gaslighting, but I think like the best word for it is a victim blaming in the soul trap, right? This is something that like the New Agers do a lot, and and you hear this all the time when it comes to like the law of attraction, when it comes to the like what the New Agers will do is they'll use the law of attraction as sort of like a as a tool to blame people for something that wasn't their fault, right? So if you're driving down the road and like a dumbass drunk driver crashes into you, or if you're if you got like abused as a kid or something like that, or if this or if like a terrible accident happened at work, or if you get like kidnapped by a bunch of people and you get your organs harvested, if you live in like a third world country, that's a very real thing that happens. Is like the organ harvesting, the human trafficking, the kids being abducted to go to the underground bases, like all that happens. That's real shit that happens in this world, right? So what the New Agers will do is they'll say like, oh, but you manifested it because of your negative energy, you manifested it because of your negative thoughts and all this other shit, right? They'll essentially, it's almost like all the good stuff that happens. They say it was like it's like it's like all of the good stuff is sort of like confirmation that like, oh, okay, like, or like I'm manifesting positivity and all that stuff, like, and all the bad stuff that happens, like they blame it on the people that it happens to. And this is like a mental illness, this is a sickness that these people have, right? Is that they blame um is that they do victim blaming. So like if someone got raped, like if a woman got raped on the streets or something like that, they say, oh, she manifested it and attracted it, right? And this is literally a rapist justification, right? Oh, she was wearing slutty clothing. If she didn't want to be molested, she shouldn't have worn slutty clothing. That's literally what rapists use to justify rape, right? It's the same thing that the New Agers are using, right? Literally, like the way that New Agers justify the reincarnation trap, the way they try to justify, all the atrocities and the horrors that happen in this world, right? Like the way they try to justify, like all the negative experiences that happen here. What they do, it's the same. And this is crazy. It's like it's literally the exact same mindset as a rapist. It's the exact same mindset as an abuser. Like what they do is they blame the people that it happens to, say, "Oh, it was your fault because you thought negative thoughts and you manifested it because of this, that, and the other," even though it's not their fault, right? It's the same thing with people who come down here and they have a negative experience and like, "Oh man, this sucks. Like I don't want to be here." Right? "Oh, you chose to be here. You have to pay back your karma." Like fucking Dolores Cannon, that bitch, that fucking bit. Right? Whenever I catch Dolores Cannon in the afterlife, she's getting hands, bro. Like, that's like the worst. Like I fucking hate that bitch. I'm glad she's fucking dead, dude. Dolores Cannon, no way. Like the worst new ager of them all. Right? And you can see it in like the subtle moments, like whenever she's like, "You have to pay back your karma," and so like she turns into like a ghoul. Like you can see like the way her eyebrows first. She's like, "You have to pay back your karmic debt. You have to pay." Like it's so But yeah. Anyway, so I don't like Dolores Cannon, but yeah, like I just I feel compelled to make a video about this because yet again, this comment that I saw, "No one is trapped. You are here because we chose to be here for the experience," right? Like, this is like classic Dolores Cannon, Darius J. Wright, new age doctrines of like, "Oh, you chose to be here," and yet again, what the tactic is, it's gaslighting and victim blaming. What they do is all of the negative experiences that happen here, all of like the feeling of being trapped, the feeling of "I don't want to be here," the discomfort you have of being here, right? In the Loosh farm, in the energy farm, the discomfort, that like all of that stuff, like the new agers will essentially write it off as, "Oh, it's like one of two things. Either one, they'll say it's your fault, you had negative thoughts, and you weren't manifesting correctly," or whatever. Like, so that's like one thing that they do. Or number two, one of the things that they do, and this is like the Darius J. Wright thing, is that they'll say, "Oh, it's just an experience, bro." Right? It's just an experience, bro. It's just an experience in infinity, dude. But like, it's so hippy dippy, like it's so ignorant of the actual suffering that exists in the world. Like, "Oh, it's just an experience, man." And this is like hippies who smoke weed and do shrooms and go to like ayahuasca retreats. Like that's the shit that they say. Like, this is like the shit that like trust fund babies say. Is like, "Oh, it's just an experience, man. You just gotta think positive thoughts. I'll be all right, dude." Like that's literally like the kind of mindset that they hold on. I think I spat on the camera. Hold on, but that's literally the kind of mindset that they have, that these new agers have, and I can't help but point out the parallels between like the way the new age, or like whenever you point out the suffering in this world, whenever you point out like, "Oh man, like I've had all these shitty experiences, whenever I'm on this planet, like I've had all these shitty experiences, I feel trapped, I don't want to be here," right? If you do that, the new agers will say like, "Oh, well, it was your fault because you manifested it, and you chose to be, like, you wanted it, you chose to be here," right? Yet again, the gaslighting, the victim blame, they'll blame the victim of the traumas, of all the evil that happens in this world. Yet again, if a drunk driver crashes into someone, then this is like blaming the sober driver because they were thinking negative thoughts. Like how retarded is that? And yet again, I can't help but point out the parallels between the way the new agers gaslight people and the way that a rapist will gaslight people, will sort of victim blame. Like they'll blame the victim of the rape, and they'll say that, "Oh, but you were wearing slutty clothing and you were being provocative," and and actually it was your fault. Yet again, this is what evil people do. This is what evil people do to justify the atrocities, is they'll blame the victim, right? Because this is the thing about like the narcissists that exist in this world, is they can never blame themselves, they can never take accountability, and so what they do is they blame the victims. And this is the same thing with the new age. Is that what the new agers do? Is they're trying to find a way to circle the square. Basically, they're trying to find a way to circle the square. And one of the ways that they do this is they get into this twisted evil mindset of blaming the victims of evil instead of acknowledging the very obvious evil that exists in this world, or the evil of this world, which is evil itself. Which is that this realm, this simulation, this soul trap is created by an evil person, or not an evil person, an evil entity, an evil force, right? So instead of acknowledging the obvious, what these new agers do is they try to circle the square. Is they try to basically To ignore the very obvious evil in this world, and yet again, and this goes back to the whole shift to 5D nonsense. This goes back to the whole if we just think positive thoughts, we'll shift to 5D. It goes back to all of that stuff. But yet again, I feel compelled to make this video because what I'm saying, like the general message of this video is don't fall for the gaslighting and most importantly the victim blaming that exists in the new age. Don't fall for like the whole you chose to be here and it's just an experience, bro. Dude, it's just an experience. Like, you like that one time you got raped when you were 6 by your creepy stepdad. That's just an experience, man. Oh, that time that your mom died because of a drunk driver. Oh, it's just an experience, dude. Your mom manifested it because she had negative thoughts, dude. Yeah, bro. You just gotta think positive. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, every time someone says that, like I feel like ripping their head off like a Lego piece, dude. It's yet again, it's this is like the rapist mindset that they have, right? Yet again, the victim blaming, like the way that they blame the way that they blame the evil of this world on the victims instead of the perpetrator, which is that this world is designed to be evil, which is that this world is run by evil. And so yet again, instead of acknowledging the obvious, what they and obviously like the people in the new age, they're influenced by ambient entities. They're influenced by the same entities that run the soul trap, the false white light, right? So they're influenced by that, and so of course the false white light is going to blame the victims. It's going to blame the people in the soul trap, say, "Oh, but you chose to be here, man. You have to pay. You have to pay back karmic debt, but you chose to be here." And you thought negative thoughts, and so it's yet again it's the narcissist explanation, and yet again there are demons working through these people. There are like the quote unquote spirit guides, the quote unquote archangel Michael, and all this other stuff, right? They have demons working through these new age gurus, and the new agers themselves, they're under this false white light, sort of like a lights on, no one's home, sort of like sort of a robotic look to them because of the fact that they're being influenced by that energy. And of course, when they're influenced by that energy, whenever they see evil in the world, they're going to blame the victims of it. They're not going to point out the obvious evil that exists in this world. They're going to do the opposite, and they're going to blame the victims and say, "Oh, but you manifested it because you had negative thoughts, dude, and you chose to be here. It's just an experience, man." It's just, like, yet again, writing off the suffering that exists in this world. So yet again, general message of the video is don't fall for the whole "you chose to be here" crap. Don't fall for the whole victim blaming crap. Right? Yet again, this world is evil. It's designed to be evil, and if evil stuff happens to you, it's not your fault, right? And also this is like another going back to like the original comment that I read earlier is this idea that yet again like the victim blaming, the gaslighting, like but you choose to be trapped because you believe that you believe it's a soul trap, so you choose to be trapped, so it's your fault. Yet again they're pointing the finger at you instead of acknowledging the obvious reincarnation matrix, the false white light matrix. And instead of acknowledging that, what they're doing is they say, "Oh, but it's your fault, man." Yet again, the more victim blaming, more like, "Oh, but you choose to be trapped, and that's you're manifesting the trap." Even though you have people going through near death experiences, they don't know they don't know about the false white light stuff, but whenever they leave the body, they don't want to come back here. They say, "Oh, I don't want to go back to I don't want to go back to Earth." But then, quote unquote, God or quote unquote, the guardian angels or quote unquote spirit guides, they'll say, "Oh, but you have to go back." So yet again, it's like, "Oh, you chose to be here," but then again, these entities will try to coerce people, right? And you see this again and again. It's like people being stuffed back into their bodies, people being sent back here against their will in these near death experiences. And here, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. So in these near death experiences, you have these people saying how they were almost forced back here, and I think that like maybe the reason that they were forced back here is because they didn't believe that they had a choice, and so instead of fighting back, they thought, "Oh, but it's God or whatever," or "Oh, but it's the spirit guy, so I have to come back." But yet again, like you look at like the lack of choice, the lack of autonomy, the lack of respecting your choice that in these near death experiences that these entities have, right? And then you have like the new agers talking about, "Oh, you chose to be here." Like, shut the fuck up. Like it's so very obviously not true. If you look at the near death experiences, if you look at it's not your time. You still have a soul mission. You have to pay back karmic debt with the life review and everything else. If you look at if you do the most basic research into the near death experiences, you can see how little choice and autonomy that people are given, right? And of course, you can't rely on other people to give you autonomy. You have to have the will to fight back and say, hey, you know, it's like curse of Ra, and charge up an energy ball. Like if your dead grandma shows up at the tunnel, like shut up, grandma. Because it's not your grandma, right? It's like shut the fuck up, grandma. And you just leave. Just like if you see your dead grandma, you like beat up your dead grandma. It's not your dead grandma. and just leave. You gotta get like the reptilians. They'll show up at the tunnel of light. They'll say that, oh, you have to read like, hello, sir, I'm calling about your karmic debt. You owe 10,000 lifetime. You're like, fuck off. Like, go away, fuck off. Like, anytime you see like any like spirit guides or deceased relatives or any non-humanity, they tell them, fuck off. That's the answer. That's the real answer to this stuff, right? But then again, you look at the near-death experiences, right, and you see how essentially what these entities try to do is they try to corner you, and they try to coerce you with like karmic debt and with like all the guilt in the life review and all the and then like all the and like the appeal to authority is like, oh, but it's part of God's plan, and it's you have a soul mission back down on earth. You see how much they try to coerce people into reincarnating. You see how much they try to coerce people into doing this stuff, and then you have like the new agers saying, "Oh, but you chose to be here, man. You can only be trapped if you choose to be trapped, man." And it's yet again, it's like the lack of looking at the evidence, the lack of looking at the very obvious structure of it. Or yet again, like these new agers, they're under a haze. They're under a haze, right? And they're under that influence of like that false white light energy grid. And so instead of having like your basic sense of good and evil, right? Like the reason I'm doing this, heart chakra, right? Where does your sense of good and evil come from? The heart, right? Instead of listening to that and say, oh, there's so much evil in this world. This world is evil. Instead of acknowledging the obvious from the inside, they get influenced by these entities, by this false white light energy, right? And what do? Instead of blaming the evil, they blame the victim of evil, right? So it's an inversion. It's a demonic inversion that these people have, right? But yet again, general message of the video is don't pay attention to the people to the new agers playing like the blame and shame game, as people call it. I saw a comment about that in one of my videos where it's like the blame and shame game, right? That this is the game that they'll play is they'll blame the victim, they'll blame you, they'll gaslight you into thinking that, oh, you chose to be here, even though I mean, nobody knows you better than you know you. So would you choose to come back here like after being in a lifetime, and you exit the body and you realize how much better it is on the other side? Right? Would you ever choose to come back here? No. Nobody. Literally every near-death experience that you read and that you read about or you watch a video about, like the people never want to come back. So yet again, like the only way that these people come back is if their choices and their free will is not respected, right? Because nobody would ever choose to come back here after a lifetime. This is why they have the memory wipe. This is why like you have people talk about being stuffed back into their body. So like I said, don't fall for the the victim blaming, blame and shame game that these new agers will play. Don't fall for the gaslighting. But yeah, that's the video.